Knicks NFL Tears are back for the playoffs. Can anyone dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs? Joe Judge out as the Giants head coach. So what's next for Big Blue? And how about this? Steph Curry says the KD-era Warriors would beat Mike's 96 Bulls in a 7-game series. And he meant it. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome to First Things First. Chew on that for breakfast. Jenna Wolfe, Nick Wright, Chris Broussard, Kevin Wildes. Nick, you buying it? You buying what Steph's selling?
Well, the Magic beat the 90. Oh, I'm sorry, the Magic beat the 95 Bulls, but we pretend that didn't happen. My bad. 96 Bulls were a little better. They didn't lose, because Jordan turned the ball over. Yeah, so I don't know. We can discuss.
Different reason entirely. And we can and we will discuss. But first, we are working our way to Wild Card Weekend in the NFL. That's where we start this morning. The defending AFC champion Chiefs find themselves actually playing this weekend, although it's against the Steelers, a team thrilled to have just made it to the postseason. Lopsided matchup, says our friends at Fox Bet Sportsbook, who have the Chiefs at 12.5-point favorites Sunday night. By far, the biggest spread this weekend. Nick, your Chiefs have almost every edge in this matchup, including that big win last time they played a couple weeks ago. I have to ask, should Chiefs fans be worried at all about Big Ben and the Steelers this weekend?
Worried? No. No. I'm coining a new phrase this morning, Wildes. Here's the phrase.
Okay.
Better than a bye. This is actually better than a bye. Get some cardio in, knock off some rust.
Some cardio.
Have no chance of losing. You can work on some things and be just rolling when the playoffs actually start for the Chiefs. The same weekend they've always started for the Chiefs under Mahomes, the divisional round. The NFL did some funny things with the playoffs where instead of the top 2 seeds get a bye, only the number 1 seed gets a bye. And then the Titans hung on against the Texans. And I will admit, there was a moment there that caused me a bit of consternation. And I was like, 7 seed, if the Raiders-Chargers thing is a tie, we get the Raiders and we'll beat them. But going 3-0 against a team is tough. And the Raiders did beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead a year ago and then did the victory laps, which, led to the temporary downfall of the organization. The Colts, I wasn't worried about the Colts, but there was the added equity of I have talked so terribly about them all year. What if they were to beat the Chiefs? Now, that, of course, couldn't happen, and it's very hard for them to win a playoff game since they're not in the playoffs because they employ Carson Wentz. But then I was even, for a moment there, I thought the Ravens. It could be the Ravens. When I saw the Colts were losing, I'm like, oh my God, what if it's the Ravens? And Lamar comes back. Lamar's scary. But then it's Big Ben. And Wildes, did you hear what Mike Tomlin said? Mike Tomlin said he went to bed during Chargers-Raiders. Do you think he was maybe dreaming of... Well, let's just... I'm going to take Mike Tomlin on his word. You can call him a liar. That's fine. When it's your turn, call Mike Tomlin a liar.
Watching it in the bed, fell asleep.
Do you think...
That's all.
Do you think maybe he was dreaming of a tie? Do you think Big Ben was watching that game?
No.
Quietly, privately rooting for a tie? Go out on top. You have a nice couple back-to-back wins. Instead, could be the Dan Marino package. Nobody wants to see you go out 62-7, but you might. So better than a bye, Wildes. Yeah, we can overlook them. We're looking right past
62-7.
We're looking over the horizon.
All right.
Okay. Well, they were down 36-3 the last time they played, so we'll see.
Let me make a case. Broussard, I'm going to try to sway you a little bit, even though the Chiefs are your Super Bowl pick. Dusty and I went through all the Chiefs and Steelers head-to-head stats. And guess what? They don't look good for Pittsburgh. Not at all. So I think it comes down to one guy. And I know what you're saying. Oh, Wildes, you're going to say Big Ben has got one last hurrah in him. I'm not. I'm saying that the Defensive Player of the Year, T.J. Watt, can wreck this game for the Chiefs. And here's why. Last year, Rams Seahawks. Do you remember who the Rams were starting? Remember I went to his LinkedIn page and tried to make him a contact? John Wolford. Remember the Wolfpack, Will Howell? I was big on Wolford.
Yeah.
And Aaron Donald sat back and said, if we're going to start the Wolfman, who eventually got injured and Goff came in and won the game. Aaron Donald, as Defensive Player of the Year, said, you know who has to win the game? Me, Aaron Donald, Defensive Player of the Year. They sacked Russell Wilson 5 times. They hit him 10 times. So, Broussard, why can't TJ Watt take up that same challenge? Last time they played, the Steelers had 2 sacks, 1 quarterback hit. Not enough. And I know the idea you got to be careful. No, throw that out the window. Attack Mahomes, try to put pressure on him. And this is courtesy of the next stat, Broussard, before I sway you the entire way. Behind the Steel Curtain on SB Nation, they did a wonderful job describing TJ Watt's impact against the Browns. Wrecked the game single-handedly, which we've seen him do. Here's what he did against the Browns. 4 sacks, 5 tackles, 2 passes defended, 5 quarterback hits, and he ended 5 of the first 8 drives for the Browns. One guy. TJ Watt. If you're truly the Defensive Player of the Year, which you pretty much are unanimously, he should take up the challenge and do what Aaron Donald did against Russell Wilson last year, single-handedly wreck this game for the Chiefs, and that's why I think the Chiefs have a chance. Broussard, admit you were swayed more than 10%. You might be at 30% swayed. What do you got?
Nice try, Wilds. I'm not at 30%. I'm not at 3%. All right, it was a good try.
Come on.
It was definitely a good try. You get an
3%.
A for effort. No, it was nice. But
Nick's checking his phone.
The Chiefs are going to win this game. All right, worried is way too strong a word. Worried is way too strong. All right, Big Ben just simply cannot generate enough offense to beat the Chiefs. They only scored 30 or more points one time all season, and that was in a loss. So they're not going to beat the Chiefs. However, Nick's attitude is not helping. All right, Nick's flippant. Better than a bye. Nothing's ever better than a bye. The cardio line was nice, but nothing's better than a bye because there's always a chance one of your guys could get hurt, and it's tackle football, and you never know what could happen. Okay, there's always that.
Out here rooting for
and this season, Nick, should have taught you and all the Chiefs fans like you. This should have taught you that you never take anything for granted. Was there a Chiefs fan on earth that thought this team would start 3-4? Some people thought they'd go 20-0. I won't say any names. Was there a Chiefs fan on earth that would have believed that Patrick Mahomes would not even be in the MVP discussion? Nowhere near the discussion. Was there a Chiefs fan, Nick,
he was near it,
that thought it would take a 90-yard fumble return to beat the lowly Denver Broncos, who were on the internet, making plans for their vacations before the game? No. So I'm just saying the Pittsburgh Steelers, Nick, are not to be trifled with.
Yeah.
They're not. They have defied the odds time and time again this season.
No, we're trifling with them.
Nobody thought they'd make the playoffs. Everybody thought Mike Tomlin was in for the first losing season of his career. They got TJ Watt. They got Minka Fitzpatrick. They got a nice receiving core that could expose your vulnerable defensive backfield. So I'm just saying,
it's an argument.
Chiefs are going to win, but don't trifle with them, Nick. Don't. Just don't do it.
We'll trifle
That's all I'm
with them.
saying.
Consider them trifled. Wilds, let me just tell you real quick why you didn't sway Broussard more. You were talking about Defensive Player of the Year, TJ Watt. But as we all know, Broussard looks to the brilliant analysts at PFF above everyone else. And I don't know if you saw it, those folks at PFF just released their all-pro team. TJ Watt, not even first-team All-Pro. What algorithm did you type in there, fellas, where the guy with 22.5 sacks wasn't even first-team All-Pro? Riddle me that, geniuses in Cincinnati. However,
he made second team.
I am just going to tell you, once upon a time, there was a big, strapping quarterback who played a lot of football in Pittsburgh. For him, it was college football. His name was Dan Marino. And he went to the playoffs late in his career, and he lost 38-3. And folks said, might be time to hang it up. He's like, no, let's go one more go-round. And the very next year, he went to the playoffs, and he lost 62-7. Now we have a big, strapping quarterback from Pittsburgh who went to the playoffs last year and got embarrassed. And folks were like, maybe you should hang it up. And he says, no, one more go-round. And now, 62-7, I'm not predicting it, but in play. It's in play. Better than a bye, America.
You made the playoffs.
I wouldn't lay 54 and a half.
What?
But it's in play.
What do me and the Chiefs have in common, Wilds? Both doing cardio this weekend.
Cardio.
Talk some basketball.
Yep, cardio.
John Morant.
That's right,
always doing cardio. Look at him. This is just pure cardio. He's beautiful to watch. Grizzlies looking like serious title contenders with all that good play. We'll discuss that. And coming up at the top of the hour, the reason Nick didn't call me back last night, working tirelessly on the playoff edition of his NFL tiers, because I'm sure that's the reason. Still ahead. First things first. Time now for Drawing a Blank, talking some Warriors, Grizzlies, and Ja, like he has done so many times this season, put on a show last night. 29 points as Memphis beat Golden State. Memphis won their 10th straight game. Steve Kerr said after the Grizzlies, quote, have turned into one of the best teams in the league. How about that? Chris Broussard, the Grizzlies beating the Warriors last night made you think blank.
It made me think that Memphis is for real, Jenna. Steve Kerr is right. I mean, they are no longer this cute, young, up-and-coming team that's going to fade back to the 8th or 9th seed as the season goes on. No, they're legitimate. All right? I'm not saying they're going to win the West this year. I'm not saying that yet. But they look great. Obviously, Look, you mentioned the 10 straight wins, okay? Here's some of the teams they beat. Now, obviously, they beat Golden State. But they also beat Brooklyn at Brooklyn. They also beat Phoenix at Phoenix. And in 10 straight, they've won 15 of their last 18. They've beaten Utah. They've beaten Philadelphia. They've beaten Denver, Miami. They've beaten just about every good team in the league. Certainly everyone that they've played. And for what it's worth nowadays, they've beaten the Lakers twice in that 10-game span. All right, so they are playing great basketball, and everybody focuses on Ja Morant, and rightly so. He is incredible. In just his 3rd year, he is already a legitimate MVP candidate. As Wild says, he's the most exciting guy in the NBA. So he should get the pub. But they're more than Ja Morant. They're 11-2 this season. 11-2 without Ja Morant. That 73-point win against Oklahoma City a while ago, that was without Ja. They've got Dylan Brooks, who's a very good player, but he's injured right now and out for about a month. But they got Desmond Bane, a 43% three-point shooter, giving you 17 a night. They've got Jaren Jackson, one of the best shot blockers in the league, at 2 a game. Last night, down the stretch, he blocked Steph and Clay at the rim in the last 2 minutes, like within 30 seconds of each other. It was even closer than that. They are a legitimate team. And Nick, this is the last thing I love about them. They play 5-man basketball. They move the ball, and their players are constantly in motion. That's why Ja only averages just less than 7 assists a game, because the ball's moving. It's not 1 or 2 players creating all the offense like most NBA teams. They play 5-man ball, and that can win you big time in this league.
And you keyed on, I think, maybe the most important part. They're doing this without a whole roster. And if the most recent NBA playoffs have taught us anything, it's assuming full health is folly. And so the fact that Memphis is going to have experience of being able to win big games against good opponents without all of their key pieces is huge. So I said a Western Conference Finals preview ? Because obviously the bracket would have to fall the right way. But if Golden State can get up to the 1 seed, I think Memphis probably tops out at the 4 seed. Because I don't think they're going to catch Golden State or Phoenix, and Utah loves nothing more than winning meaningless regular season games. So those are your top 3 seeds. But so if that's what it is, if it's 1 versus 4, then all of a sudden this would be a round 2 matchup. But if Golden State ends up at the 2 seed, this could absolutely be a Western Conference Finals preview. Like, Memphis is absolutely for real because of Ja. I appreciate what you said about 11-2 and that Dylan Brooks is great even though he's out. But Ja is at an MVP level right now. And at the midway point of the season, the All-NBA frontcourt wilds looks, it would be very surprising if it's not Giannis, KD, and LeBron. That right now should be the front court. I understand people are going to say you don't have a true center, but LeBron's playing center and you can do 3 front court guys. Steph looked like the lock for the first guard spot. Steph, since Christmas, is 34% from the field, 29% from 3. Steph is in a legit slump.
Wow.
Now, he's still at one of the All-NBA guards at this point, but Ja, to me, feels as much of a lock as Steph does right now, and DeRozan's got a case.
Right.
Like, Ja is playing at that level. And so it wouldn't be ridiculous to see these teams in the Western Conference Finals if the Lakers don't get it together and if they can stay relatively healthy.
Love it. All right. So conventional wisdom, got to have a super team. Can't just have 2 stars. You need 3 stars to really compete. But there is an asterisk to that. What if you have the most electrifying man in sports entertainment, like Ja Morant? Well, we saw Trae Young take the Hawks to the Eastern Conference Finals. He wasn't even the most electrifying man in sports entertainment. Let's take a look at the most electrifying men in sports entertainment about the last 30 years. First of all, it's The Rock, namesake, most electrifying man in sports entertainment. Won some championships, never got to a finals. Allen Iverson, most electrifying man in sports entertainment. When I was in college and a little post-college, Broussard, he carried that team, won an MVP, went all the way to the finals. Derrick Rose, young. Start seeing Derrick Rose have his big dunks. You're like, is that the most electrifying man in sports entertainment? It was for a little while. And now Ja Morant takes the crown. So Broussard, I think the idea that one guy can't do it, we've kind of been clouded when we've seen one guy at least go to the conference finals. So Ja could very well do it. Is he MVP-ish? Yeah, not quite yet. But I'll tell you what does help him when we talk about narratives. The fact that he puts so many good highlights out there onto social media, you don't need to watch. Look, the voters are not watching every single Memphis game. He's putting so much electrifying stuff out there. I think it gives him a little bit of extra momentum. Broussard does.
Yeah, those 2 teams, the Iverson and Rose teams, they did it with great defenders and a bunch of role players around those guys who did all the offense. Like I said, the difference with this Grizzlies team, they're more like Golden State before KD that won the championship, and San Antonio even in 2014. That San Antonio team that beat Miami was older. It wasn't, their stars were at the end of their career, but they moved the basketball. They got everybody involved. They played 5-man ball, which is unique in today's NBA. Golden State did it, and they played above the sum of their total parts. So that's what Memphis is doing. When you move the basketball, everybody touches it, and you got shooters, you can win in this NBA where we're used to 1 or 2 guys creating all the offense for their team. So they're dangerous for sure, Wild.
Nope. Everyone doing it. Yep.
Remember those dunks?
Nick's going to unveil his playoff tiers right now. The Super Wild Card Weekend matchups are set 2 games Saturday, 3 Sunday, and a Monday night playoff game for the first time ever. So before that kicks off, this kicks off Nick's new playoff edition of NFL Tiers. Nick, what do you got?
All right, listen here, America, because that's what the committee did. The committee listened, against my objections on some of these things, by the way, to complaints from Broussard and Wilds. The committee yesterday said all year long, we meet, then they watch the show, they hear Broussard and Wilds, man, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? They're like, we don't want to hear it this week. It's playoff week, so we listen to them. Hopefully they will be happy, unveil the bottom tier. Too many teams tier. Listen, the NFL made a couple changes recently. One really good, one unnecessary. Really good, adding the game. Week 18 was awesome. Unnecessary, adding the extra playoff team. Steelers-Eagles. You know what the Steelers-Eagles are supposed to be doing right now? Chilling at home. Instead, they got to go play Brady and Mahomes and get their teeth kicked in. Nobody wants them there. They don't want to be there. Too many teams. All right. This next part is where we would reveal the Patriots, but per Kevin Wild's request, they're off the tiers. For 2 straight weeks, he petitioned to have the Patriots removed from the tiers so they are unranked. They will get no discussion, nothing. They are unranked because that's what you asked for. And at its core, the committee is a service endeavor. Next, Cinderella path. All right, so these teams, unlike the Eagles and the Steelers, have a chance to win this weekend. And if they do, the Cinderella path opens up for them. By the way, what you're going to see the committee did, we tried to pair AFC, NFC as far as we could. Try to have a little continuity here. It gets screwed up because the Patriots are, of course, not involved. So there's going to be one person without a dance partner. Neither here nor there. Cinderella path. These 2 teams, if they win this weekend, they are the team members like, oh, nobody wants to play the Niners. Nobody wants to play the Raiders. Cinderella path for them. Dangerous quarterback. Dangerous coach. What do we mean by that? Everyone is afraid of Burrow and Kyler. All Bengals and Cardinals fans are afraid of Zach Taylor and Cliff Kingsbury. The quarterback's dangerous for the opposition. The coach is dangerous for the team. So these teams are dangerous. They are interesting. It's good to see 2 number 1 picks of the draft make their playoff debut. Unfortunately, Zach Taylor and Cliff Kingsbury are prominently involved, so they're going to have to overcome that. Dangerous quarterback, dangerous coach. All right, got to get to the Final Four. This is 2 teams that if they do not get to the conference championship weekend, it's a total failure. The Titans are here because they only have to win 1 home game to get to the conference championship weekend. Unfortunately for the Titans, their team history says it ain't great. They've been the number 1 seed 3 times. The first time they lost in the divisional round, the second time they lost in the divisional round, this is the 3rd time. The Cowboys, on the other hand, have not been to a conference championship game since January of 96. What was happening in January of 96? Well, the number 1 movie in America was Grumpier Old Men, followed by the original Toy Story. We were 3 years away from Bill Clinton being impeached. That's what was going on in 96. Wilds and Jenna were in high school. I was in 6th grade. Broussard was in his 7th year covering the Cavs. Next, live and die by your quarterback. How far are you going to go in these playoffs is determined by your quarterback for good or for bad. Both of these teams, if we're being honest, could make the Super Bowl, theoretically. Both of them absolutely also could lose this weekend. And it's going to be, they have good rosters around them. The numbers like both their defenses. They have stars on both sides of the ball. But the up and down play of Magic Mountain Josh Allen and Matt Stafford strikes fear in the hearts of their own team and the opposition. Live and die by the quarterback. Now, to Broussard. Broussard was mad last week. Oh, you have vacant tiers. It's an embarrassment. Not this week, my friend. Truly terrifying tier. It's back with a team there. The Bucks. The Bucks, let's be fair here. They've got a great draw as the 2 seed. They have this odd motivation caused by the Antonio Brown clown tour he's on. They've won 7 of 8. Brady is feeling sharp. And nobody in the NFC really wants to see Tom Brady and the Bucks on the other side of the field. Number 1 contender tier, despite a loss in Week 18, we didn't ding them too much, the Green Bay Packers. If the Packers don't make the Super Bowl this year, it's going to be very hard to point a lot of fingers other than towards Aaron Rodgers. And I understand that sounds unfair before we've seen the games. However, they have the bye. They are getting healthier when other teams are getting more injured. They have the perfect path imaginable. You've got it. You can't go 3 straight NFC championship games back to back at home, by the way it would be, and lose all 3. Just can't do it. They've got to make the Super Bowl. And then Dynasty 2 of 3. It's not even the favorites anymore. We're past that. We're over that. Dynasty 2 of 3. The Kansas City Chiefs, Broussard, are 4 wins away from, you could no longer deny it's a dynasty in progress. And if and when they win the Super Bowl, they will go into next year with the ability to have the greatest 4-year run in NFL history. When they finish off this season, win the Super Bowl, If you win, by any definition, no team has ever won more than 3 Super Bowls in 4 years. Patriots obviously did that. We've seen the Cowboys did that. What those teams didn't do was in the year they didn't win the Super Bowl, make the Super Bowl. The Chiefs would have an opportunity to make 4 straight Super Bowls, only been done by Buffalo. So, 2/3 of the way to the dynasty completion. That's what the Chiefs have on the line. There's the tiers. I'm sure you're happy. I did literally everything you and Wilds asked for.
Well, not a bad job, Nick. Not a bad job. First of all, 1996 was my first year covering the Cavaliers. All right, not my 7th. I'm not quite that old.
Sorry.
All right,
I wasn't even in high school.
All right. Now, but I like that you finally didn't have vacant spots on your tiers. I'm with you on that. I like that you gave the Buccaneers some respect, but you didn't give them enough respect. All right? I would move the Buccaneers into the #1 contender spot and Green Bay down a notch. And here's why. You got into it a little bit, but I trust, and I think you might agree with me, that these are the 2 teams that are likely to meet in the NFC Championship. The Buccaneers and the Packers. And if they get there, I trust Tom Brady far more than I trust Aaron Rodgers. All right, and this is not about the MVP that Brady should win, that Rodgers probably will win. This is about their history. We know about Brady, right? He's clutch, the big moment, he's at his best. All right, we know he can win in the cold weather. We know he can win in Lambeau Field because he did it last year. What about Aaron Rodgers, though? Aaron Rodgers, as you know, 1 in 4 in NFC Championship games, including 4 straight losses. And here's the startling thing, Nick. Aaron Rodgers' claim to fame, one of the first things we think about when we think of his greatness, is he never threw interceptions. This year, that's it. That's why he's going to win MVP, because he only threw 4 interceptions against 37 touchdowns. He is the all-time leader in career interception percentage, 1.3%, and the career leader in TD to interception ratio. And yet, can we see it again? When he gets into the NFC Championship game,
it's
Nick,
1-1.
all of a sudden he's throwing interceptions. It's not just that he's losing.
1-1.
It's that he becomes like an entirely different player. It would be like if Steph Curry all of a sudden can't shoot in the Western Conference Finals.
In the finals,
like he shoots 20% in the Western Conference Finals. 9 touchdowns, 9 touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers in 5 NFC title games, Nick. 8 interceptions. That is incredible for a guy that rarely throws picks. So I'm concerned, and last year I think we saw it, Wilds, a little bit, when Aaron Rodgers could have run for that touchdown or at least a first down, or at least closer to the goal line, I should say. And instead, he throws a pass across his body. So something's different about him in NFC title games, Nick. So I would put Tampa Bay ahead of Green.
Listen, you've been on that all year. You picked the Bucs to go to the Super Bowl. I picked the Packers. But you have hammered that point. And if I'm being honest, because Wilds, as you know, dripping in integrity and objectivity, there is a little voice in my head that is concerned about exactly what Broussard's talking about. That his regular season and playoff numbers, aside from NFC Championship games, are almost identical. And then in the game to get to the Super Bowl, now a lot of that has been circumstantial, I get it. They've down huge early playing. I understand all of that. It's not all on him. But the numbers are so jarring. It's a compelling case Broussard makes. I still think the Bucs are too banged up to jump ahead of the Packers, who have the week 1 or the playoff bye. But he makes a compelling case. Wilds, you're welcome, by the way. I did what you asked.
Well,
so this will probably be fast.
Well, you didn't do what I asked. You didn't. I wanted respect. I didn't want us off the tiers. I said, if you don't respect me, I want out. But the real thing, this is a problem in our relationship. You hear me, but you're not listening. I wanted respect. You can't just do what I want.
Then you lost to
For that reason, I want the Patriots back in to the Cinderella spot. I think that's a nice spot for us. Ooh, could a rookie and a rebuilt dynasty ascend again? That would be perfect for us. Oh, a little hoof in a glass slipper. I think that would be a great spot for us. But I also want to focus on the Bills, our opponent on Saturday night. You've got the Bills, you're saying, they rise and fall with the quarterback. Do they, though? I feel like everyone is overlooking how good the Bills' defense is. And it might be because we got to beat up on the Jets a little bit, just like the Patriots did. This Bills defense is really good. If we don't stop the Bills, first in points, first in yards, first in passing yards, first in third downs, takeaways pretty good too. You're not going to get any from Mac Jones, baby, go. That number will probably stay there. If we aren't able to take care of the Bills for you, Nick, they already beat you once. I think they would beat you again. I think Bills are going to the Super Bowl if we don't stop them. We are the only thing standing in the way of the Buffalo Bills making it to the Super Bowl. We're your only chance. You should be a Patriots fan. The world should be. They're good. They're a good team. Great number one defense and winning the Super Bowl.
Listen, Wild's takeaway. Wild's takeaway is this. Put it on the bottom line next time we talk about this. Kevin Wildes, winner of Patriots Bills will go to the Super Bowl. Correct? That's what you're saying. Because if the Pats win, I know you're picking them to beat the Titans. If the Pats win, they might not even have to play the Chiefs. They would then play the Titans. I'm giving you a strong take, buddy. Take the take. It's going to be wrong. You're wrong either way. Just take the strong take, my friend.
No.
Okay, that's fine.
You're literally talking about a dynasty.
And luckily,
one game. Saturday, Sunday, one game at a time. I don't even do this one. Just Saturday. Just Saturday.
Well, Jenna, just to be clear, and I know we have to go, I also would only be focused on one game if I only had one game left in my season. So I understand why the Patriots are focused on one game. They have one game left in their season. That's all they can focus on. So, yeah, it makes sense.
Like it. Jib jab. Jib jab.
Let's go to break, Jenna.
Jab, jab, jab. Jab, jab, jab. First things first, to the surprise of nobody, really, the New York Giants fired head coach Joe Judge yesterday after just 2 seasons at the helm, and with good reason. He went 10-23. His press conferences sometimes played like stand-up comedy, and his team took more laps than Denny Hamlin at Daytona. The move comes one day after GM Dave Gettleman announced his retirement, so big changes for Big Blue. Wildes, what was your reaction to the Judge news yesterday?
Well, my reaction, Jenna, was if you're not going to be good, be interesting. It's an old Colin Cowherd take. And Joe Judge gave us more content in 2 years of being a head coach of the New York Giants than some coaches do their entire lifetimes. And it was hard, Broussard, to pick among the treasure chest of anecdotes and memories that we've discussed on this show. But I tried to pick out the top 4. We'll start with this one. Joe Judge. Oh, he's hard-nosed guy. Is he, though? Can he not have a little fun and teach ball security at the tank? These were simpler times. Simpler times when you don't even need to buy a slip and slide. Just muddy up the field and get down there, and the Giants loved it. Did he have some unorthodox teaching techniques? Yeah. Also a fan of the U.S. Open. Wanted to cut down on penalties. So he said, here's an idea. Let's tape some tennis balls to the linemen's hands to reduce holding penalties. Did it work? Well, that's up to Dusty to see if we have to track the numbers of holding penalties. Was it interesting? Indeed it was. And how about this highlight? Daniel Jones. Is he a great thrower? Not necessarily. Is he a great runner? Well, of course. And much like the Giants' tenure with Joe Judge, seemed like it was going well, and then just a few stumbles. And then finally, Jenna, for someone that was so audacious, so unconventional, to end like this was a betrayal of Joe Judge's very Joe Judgeness. A guy who is willing to tape tennis balls onto guys' hands shouldn't be running boring plays. So if I had to sum it up, the one flaw of Joe Judge is that he didn't stick to being Joe Judge. He tried to be somebody he wasn't. And you should never do that. Whether you're a head coach, whether you're in first grade, whether you're a guy like me who's on TV and just misses Joe Judge already. So I'll miss you, Joe Judge. Thanks for the memories, buddy. Once a Patriot, always a Patriot.
That was bravo, Kevin Wiles.
Well done.
Putting it all in perspective.
I like legit made
Putting
myself
it all
sad.
in perspective.
I legit.
Yes, I'm sad and happy. I'm happy and I'm sad. But I guess
I legit got 2 and 2.
so good. Do you need a moment?
It was the music.
Take a
It was the
moment.
music.
Yeah, I got to fire back. All right, go, ask me the question.
Wiles was the kid in first grade. Wiles was that kid in first grade. You need
Sorry,
to
I got
believe in
2
yourself. I guess my question only is, now that Judge is gone, you look at this Giants team, is this even a good job, Kevin Wiles? Should anyone even want to come in here
Yes,
and be
here's
the head
why.
coach of that team?
Yes. Here's why. And Nick, I'll throw it to you. I think Brian Flores should I think the Giants should offer the job to Brian Flores once they get a GM. That Brian Flores should be the number one guy. We know that Patriots pedigree still burns hot in everybody. You would think that this is the time where people are like, Bill Belichick coaching tree hasn't worked out. Not true. Keeps hitting and hitting and hitting and hitting. So go at it one more time. Sorry, I'm literally tearing up about Joe Judge. I'm so sad. In any event, Nick, between the draft picks and the new GM, I think that you're going to have a longer leash, so to speak, to sort of, it's not going to be 2 and out. The new GM's going to be like, look, here's the 5-year plan. Here's the 4-year plan. You get a head coach. The quarterback thing is a problem, but between the big market and I think you're going to have a larger window to succeed, I think it's a great job.
Okay, it's the worst job available. And here's why. Because Joe Judge got all the headlines. Dave Gettleman is the person most responsible for the position the Giants are in. And this will shock people because the Giants seemingly have, 4 good players at best. Going into next season, the Giants are already over the cap. They pay their quarterback nothing.
Oof.
The Saquon Stone's rookie deal. The Giants have the 5th least cap space going into next season. They're $3 million over the projected cap for next year because they spent all their money on a bad defense. Leonard Williams makes $27 million. They spend $40 million on their top 2 corners. They pay an inside linebacker $15 million. So you are going to have to cut players to make room just for your draft picks. You do have draft picks, but there's no surefire quarterback in this draft. Daniel Jones stinks. It is, if I were advising Brian Flores, I would tell him to run far, far away. In fact, Brian Flores, you run far away from New York, but not that far from Miami. Go to the best job, Jacksonville, where you will have a long leash, like Wild said you'd have with the Giants. You have Trevor Lawrence, you have great draft picks, and you have the 3rd most cap space in football. Assuming that now the problem with Jacksonville, there's some real potential GM concerns there, and I understand that. However, if you can get past that part of it, to me, Jacksonville's the best job, and the Giants are the worst job, and the gap between them is massive. After Jacksonville, Broussard, I would think the Bears, because, again, you have the quarterback in place.
Those are good jobs, but the Giants is not the worst job. The Giants is a good job. And Wiles hit on it. Whoever is hired there is going to have security. They're going to be paying 3 head coaches next year, Nick. The one whoever's the coach, and then their past 2 coaches, including Judge. So that's one thing. They're not going to fight. Almost kept Judge. If he doesn't go into victory formation on the goal line on 3rd down, he might still be the head coach because they didn't want to pay somebody else, right? So this guy's going to have a 4 or 5 year plan, as Wild said. Secondly, Nick, they got to hire a good GM. If they hire the right GM, then I think they're going to get the right coach. And the right GM makes this a good team, a good job, as does the right coach. Because here's the thing, Nick. How
are they not an expansion team?
No, they're not an expansion team.
They don't have a quarterback, they don't have a coach, they don't have a GM, but they don't have cap space.
Well, and this might play in your expansion thing. They got the 5th pick this year and the 7th pick. So that's a nice start, especially when you don't have cap room. All right. Also, I think their personnel is a little better than you're saying. I'm not saying it's great, but we see teams go from worst to first all the time. I'm not saying they go to first, but they can make a good improvement if the right coach is there. We saw what Brian Flores, Wild said Flores should get the job. We saw what he did in Miami. And he was not fired because of his coaching. He got the most out of that team. So I think that type of coach with these Giants could win, Nick. And remember, they're not the New York Jets. They're the New York Football Giants, a proud franchise. We laughed at Judge. They're not a clown show. They've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 15 years under this current ownership. And the only team to win more Super Bowls than them in the last 15 is New England. So they know how to win. They just got to get the right guy in that GM spot. He'll hire the right coach. So, Nick, I think it's actually a good job.
Back here talking basketball now. So as part of a recently published GQ feature, Steph Curry went undercover on social media to answer some basketball questions from fans. One of the questions, could a fully healthy Kevin Durant-era Warriors beat the 96 Chicago Bulls in a 7-game series? And his answer, Steph Curry's answer, absolutely. Dubs in 6. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this conversation. Chris Broussard, do you agree with Steph Curry?
Well, first of all, Jenna, let me say this. I respect Steph saying this because a lot of guys would go, oh, it's a different era. Who knows? Oh, Michael Jordan, you can never bet against him. That's for other guys to determine. But inside, they would be thinking, yeah, we beat the Bulls. So I respect Steph for being honest about it. However, he's honestly wrong. All right, I've got the 96 Bulls, Nick and Wilds, in this series. And Steph actually threw out in 6. My goodness. Here's the thing about that Bulls team. They beat.
It might be 5.
And they swept, actually. They swept the Shaq, Penny Hardaway, Orlando Magic. Shaq was phenomenal at that point, and so was Penny. This is pre-injury Penny Hardaway. Penny Hardaway was still one of the top players in the league, looking like a future Hall of Famer. And, Nick, here's the thing. They had shooting. They had Dennis Scott and Nick Anderson, who were good three-point shooters. And so they were able to guard them on the 3, all at the same time having to deal with Shaq in the post. That's how great defensively this team was. So guarding the Warriors at the 3, you didn't have to worry about anybody in the post. So they'd be able to do that. And that's the crux of why I picked the Jordan Bulls, Nick. And I know, look, let's get to the crux of the matter. Nick likes Golden State, I'm assuming, because they beat LeBron's Cavs 4-1 in those finals. All right, so of course he's got to say they would beat Jordan's team. But here's the thing. That Cavs team was built the wrong way. That Cavs team tried to outshoot the Warriors. They went into that season saying, let's get shooting and outscore them. And they were second in the league in three-point shooting that year. But you're not going to outshoot the Warriors. And what happened was the Cavs' defense was horrible. They were 21st in the league in defense. Well, these Bulls were not only first in the league offensively, they could score with the Warriors, but they were first defensively. Jordan, Ron Harper, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, all long, all versatile. They were a swarming defense. So I'm not disrespecting like the Warriors and say they'd sweep them or anything like that. But that team, because of its defense, would be able to beat the 2017 Warriors.
See, this is the problem. And you did all the work for me. Because let's have Wilds on the screen too. Because we can't have an honest conversation about this without it turning into what for some they want it to be, not me, somehow something to do with LeBron James. Why did LeBron's name even come out of your mouth there? This is about the 96 Bulls and the 2017 Warriors. And so my answer is the Warriors. It is very simple, and it doesn't involve evoking Penny Hardaway. It doesn't involve invoking Ron Harper either. It's this. The 2016 Warriors won 73 games, and many people believe would have waltzed to a championship if not for an unfair suspension and or an Andrew Bogut injury. The 2016 Warriors were one of the best teams we've ever seen. They added Kevin Durant, one of the 12 greatest players ever, to that team. So yeah, there's a reason why they started the playoffs 15-0, that they never faced any adversity. The 96 Bulls, on the other hand, as soon as George Karl decided to let the best defender in the league, Gary Payton, guard Michael Jordan, were in a dogfight in that series.
Stop it.
And they were in a tight fourth quarter in Game 6. What do you mean stop? I don't have to stop anything. The 96 Bulls were not undefeated throughout the Eastern Conference playoffs, and in the finals it went 6 games. Just the facts. You can twist it however you want. But Wilds, for you and Broussard, there is such nostalgia and almost like generational ego wrapped up in Jordan that you are honestly going to sit here and make the case. Like, let's just go best 5 versus best 5. Can we agree that Jordan and Pippen, it's at least a close call, Jordan and Pippen versus KD and Steph? That Jordan's the best of the 4, sure, but KD and Steph are clearly the second and third best, and then Pippen's a distant 4th. Sure. Well, what about the rosters after? Is Klay Thompson as your third best player versus Rodman? Well, Rodman's an all-timer in a very specific way. Who's going to play the Rodman role for the Warriors? Oh, wait, 2 of the best Rodmans ever, Draymond and Iggy. And the 4th and 5th guys on the Bulls, now we're in the Luke Longley, Ron Harper, Tony Kukoc territory.
Tony Kukoc.
The 2017 Warriors are the greatest collection of talent ever. Now, I don't know where is Steve Kerr playing for the Bulls or coaching the Warriors? Because I'm going to be honest, Wilds, I like my position better if he's playing for the Bulls and not coaching the Warriors. I think Kerr might be able to screw this up a bit for me. However, I'm going to go ahead and say the 73-win team that added Kevin Durant that started the playoffs 15-0, that team might just be the best team ever, even though they didn't have Michael Jordan. Well, Michael Jordan and his sons against the 2017 Warriors. We got to look into it. Stop it. Stop it.
There we go. All right, I'm gonna throw an alley-oop to Broussard here. Broussard, you can dunk it. You talked about, let's not get down to like, oh, well, what about the 8th guy? Let's look at player number 10. No, let's look at the main 2 players. Okay. And Nick, you laid it out. But you know that finals come down to the superstars. And there's 4 superstars. It's Pippen and Jordan, and it's Durant and Steph. Let's match up. Let's just match up. If the Bulls are like, hey, Scotty, can you handle Durant? And Scottie Pippen like, great player, but I'm going to give it my all. And I think Durant's going to be like, Scottie Pippen, one of the greatest defenders of all time. Hey, Michael Jordan, can you lock up Steph? Yes. And now reverse it. Broussard, do you think...
No, but that's not what it would be. No, this is outrageous.
Can you lock up Michael Jordan?
Steph is not guarding Jordan ever.
No.
Steph is not guarding Jordan ever in this series. Because it's not 2-on-2. It's 5-on-5, buddy. We don't have to go 8 guys. We're going 5-on... No, Iggy. No, Andre Iguodala is going to guard Jordan.
Oh, Iggy?
And win Finals MVP when Jordan averages 36, 13, and 9.
He's getting served too.
But we'll give Iggy the MVP.
I do not think Klay Thompson can guard Michael Jordan.
What are you talking about? Steph is going to be on Kerr or Harper or whatever non-threat 5th option they have. What are you talking about?
Kerr
it's not a 2-on-2 game.
Kerr was not a non-threat.
I like the Bulls. Yeah, but he's...
Kerr was not a non-threat.
Okay. Now we're going to talk about the Steph Curry can't guard Steve Kerr.
Could the Bulls score with Golden State, Nick? Could that Bulls team score with Golden State? They're the most efficient offensive team,
and that's why they would lose.
They could score with it because they had 3-point shooting. They had Kerr.
So what?
They had Kukoc, and you might laugh at him, but they had Judd Bushler who could shoot the 3. All right, I'm just saying they couldn't shoot it like the Warriors. And they had the greatest scorer of all time, one Michael Jordan. And then on the other end, they could not lock up the Warriors. They're not shutting down the Warriors, but they are making it tougher on them than anybody else. And who's the most clutch guy? The one guy in all of these players that we can say always came through in the clutch in the finals. But these games wouldn't be particularly close, so it wouldn't matter. Oh, yeah. Well, you might be right because Jordan never went 7 games. Jordan never went 7 games in the finals. And
only against Reggie and the Pacers and only against Anthony Mason and the Knicks. Stop it.
Was that the finals?
Stop
was
it.
that the finals? You keep big upping.
No, but
you
the
keep
Warriors
big
never
upping
went.
the 2016 Warriors.
I'm
we
gonna
don't
pass
think
out.
about the 2016 Warriors. Because
The
they're
Warriors
not
with
champions.
KD never win
Yo,
6
73
games.
wins. That was cute.
They never win 6
Give
games,
me a
buddy.
championship.
They went.
Okay.
You gotta
The
win
Warriors-
the title to get that
The Warriors
respect.
with KD, buddy, in the finals, they didn't go 7 games either. They didn't go 6 games either. They went 5 and then sweep. Guys, look
Because the
okay,
team
I'm
they
just
played
asking
couldn't
America.
play defense.
I'm
Couldn't
asking
play
America.
defense.
This is what I'm asking America to do. Recognize what is happening here. We have Wilds and Broussard arguing, as they always do, that if the question involves Michael Jordan, he's the right answer. You have me advocating for Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and the Warriors. This is not Nick. Oh, it's Nick arguing
Hold
for
on.
LeBron. No, I am making the case for a team that I am known to ridicule and criticize. We have the evidence.
What about Jordan, Pippen, and Rodman? That's not a great trio? That's not a great trio?
Of course
We're
it
not
is.
just saying it's all on Jordan. I didn't
it's
even
great
mention
enough.
him in my first salvo.
Of course. Guess what? It's great enough to probably be the second or third greatest team ever. But the 2017 Warriors and the 71 Lakers are the 2 greatest teams probably ever. And there's an 86 Celtics argument, there's an 85
No,
Lakers
not the
argument,
71 Lakers.
and there's a 96 Bulls argument. Oh, I'm sorry. What'd they win? 31 in a row? That was no good?
Half
This
of
is
the
a
best
30,
players
40
in the
win
world
streak,
were in the
whatever it was, no
ABA
good.
at that time.
Well,
Oh,
They didn't
my
have
God.
to deal with the Doc and all
my
them.
God.
Go Kumbaya. First things first, as we work our way towards Wild Card Weekend, the defending NFC champion Chiefs find themselves actually playing this weekend. They're not off, although it is against the Steelers, so Nick would tell you they're sort of off.
Hey,
Steelers are a team thrilled just to have made it to the postseason. Sorry I took your take. Lopsided matchup. Chiefs by far the biggest favorites this weekend. Nick, your Chiefs, they've got almost every edge in this matchup, including that win a couple weeks ago, big win. I gotta ask, should Chiefs fans be worried at all about Big Ben and the Steelers?
Oh, no. Not unless they're behind him in line at Jack Stack, worried they're not going to get those delicious burn ends, might run out. Here is the deal, America. There are some things, Kevin Wilds, that are just football parlance, and they have become iconic. Just win, baby, is one of them. You guys, I'll always remember suck for luck. You heard that? The Al Pacino inch by inch. You've got to die for that inch speech. All those things. I'm trying to coin one right here. Better than a bye. Playing the Pittsburgh Steelers is better than a bye. Don't have to worry about Russ. The Chiefs fans, remember last year, not full stadiums. So the Chiefs fans can get a little, when are we supposed to get loud? What's the playoff environment before the round 2 matchup, potentially AFC Championship game? For the Chiefs players, get a little cardio in. Break and get a nice sweat going. Playoff conditions, cold football, national television. All of this. All while having no chance of losing. So some would say, Nick, you should be disappointed. For the first time in Mahomes' career, he has to suffer the indignity of playing Wild Card Weekend. Usually his feet are kicked up. He's watching others, telling Jackson put the TikTok away. But no, now he's got to play. But I think this is better than a bye, Kevin Wilds. And so I'm telling you, no, are you worried the Chiefs are going to overlook the Steelers? I am overlooking the Steelers. I've looked past the Steelers. The Steelers are gone. And by the way, Wilds, one last point. Are we sure the Steelers want to be here? When Mike Tomlin went to bed
this is a terrible
during Chargers-Raiders, do you think he was dreaming of a tie? Do you think Big Ben did Big Ben want to have his last 2 games be the home game with the lap around the stadium and then a win over his hated rival? Oh, man, just so short. See you guys. Or does he want to go to Arrowhead and get his teeth kicked in for 3.5 hours? I'm not sure they even want to be in this game. But they are. And so, better than a bye, Wilds.
Okay. Broussard, I'm going to aim this at Broussard, the most rational person on the set. Jenna, and you too, but just not Nick. Broussard, I'm going to just tell you a little story. I'm going to try to move you from here to here and tell you why the Steelers have a chance. And I'm going to go back to last year. because there was a team called the Los Angeles Rams, and they were starting John Wolford. Remember the Wolf Pack? I was getting fired up. I had a full wolf costume saying Wolf Pack. I was friends with him on LinkedIn. Yeah. He ended up starting that game, got hurt. Goff came in, who was hurt. And Aaron Donald, who was the defensive player of the year, realized, you know what? It's not up to Goff. It's not up to the Wolf Pack. It's up to me. I'm the defensive player of the year. And what did that defense do? Well, they sacked Russell Wilson 5 times, and they hit him 10 times. And guess who the Steelers have? This year's defensive player of the year. It's not up to Big Ben. Big Ben doesn't play defense. It's up to TJ Watt. The first time they played, 1 quarterback hit, 2 sacks. That is not enough. This game is going to live and die on TJ Watt and the Steelers defense. Steelers blog SB Nation had a great little statistical package and video breakdown. Shout out to them. Here's what they put down, the statistics. Against the Browns, 4 sacks, 5 tackles, 2 passes defended, 5 QB hits, and TJ Watt ended 5 of the Browns' first 8 drives by himself. That's what we need, Broussard. Don't put your faith in Big Ben. Put it in TJ Watt. And Broussard, please answer this question honestly, because we did this earlier in the show. You said, Wilds, I'm at 0.5%. If TJ Watt has a game-wrecking game, you got to start to think, Mike Tomlin, Defensive Player of the Year. I've seen Mahomes fold in a big game. When was that? Oh, the Super Bowl. Ndamukong Suh, pressure, pressure, pressure. They've got a chance, Broussard. I want to move you up from no chance to chance. Meet me there. Chance.
I'll give you said I was at 0.5% last time. I'll go to 0.6%. All right, that was a compelling argument. You did, it was A for effort, Wilds. Great try. I'm with Nick in that the Chiefs should not be worried whatsoever. Big Ben just can't create enough offense. It's as simple as that. All right, they've scored 30 points 1 time this season, and that was in a loss. So they don't have enough offense. However, Nick, I don't like your attitude. Because here's the thing. The Pittsburgh Steelers, you got to respect them. They are not to be trifled with. All they've done all year is defy logic. Okay? They weren't supposed to be here. They became, not only did they make the playoffs, which was a shocker, not only did they not have the first losing season of Mike Tomlin's career, which was a shocker, but they became the first team in NFL history to have to wait until the last play of an overtime game to determine that they made the playoffs. I'm just saying, don't mess with them. You're going to beat them, and you're going to beat them, but take them seriously. You should know this. Nobody thought the Chiefs would be 3-4. Nobody thought Mahomes wouldn't be in the MVP discussion, but they were. You thought they'd go 20-0. You were cocky. You were arrogant. You had to be humble.
I said it was in play.
And that's when the rally began, Nick. That's when the 8-1 stretch began, when you humbled yourself. But now you're getting all cocky again, and I'm saying be careful.
You know, look, there's a few things I don't like. I don't like being told who to respect. Or respect who I damn well please. I don't have to respect the Steelers, who shouldn't be in the playoffs. That's the first thing. Second of all, I don't like false humility. That whole, when I had to come on this show every Monday and eat crow because the Chiefs weren't playing well. That's not me. This is me. But this is better than a bye. And also, let me tell you one other thing. Dan Marino, give Big Ben a call. Because Dan Marino once upon a time, one last run for a great quarterback. You know how that ended? 62-7 against the Jags. That's the last memory of Dan Marino. Big Ben, look in the mirror, my friend. It's coming.
See you tomorrow.
Right down I-70.
Undisputed right now.